You're on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to City Council Work Session. Today is Monday, February 12th, 2024. It is approximately 1:02 p.m. I am Mayor Enriquez. We will start. As you all know, we had a very tragic and unfortunate incident yesterday, one that's very close to home. We're all heavy-hearted today for our fallen officer, Jonah Hernandez, and I ask you all to please stand for a moment of silence, and we pay our respects to Officer Hernandez, the Las Cruces Police Department, and above all, his family, his wife, and his children. If we could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item is Pets of the Week. Do we have?
Hello everyone, my name is Amy DeFelix. I'm with the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley, and we'll start off with the Pets of the Week. And of course, we always start off with the Cat of the Week, and this week we have Mina. Her number is 71743. She says, I like taking my naps at the tallest point possible, so my dream home must have at least one nice tall cat tree for me to lounge in. I am shy, but I do love a good head pat and even cheek scratches. For being such a quiet kitty, I do have a decent purr. I'd like a nice, quiet, forever family that'll let me live my life as an observer, being a quiet companion who will love them forever. And then, of course, we also have our Dog of the Week. His name is Luke. His number is 62857. And he says, if you're looking for a calm, gentle companion, look no further. I am an attentive and affectionate boy who just wants cuddles, kisses, and treats. I'm such a good boy. I even got to go to the senior center and did amazing with all the residents. All I want is a loving family to whom I can devote myself to. I'd love to go on nice, leisurely walks and then finish the day getting pets and cozying up to my people. And then we have a few events going on this week. We do have our adoption event, our offsite adoption event at PetSmart this Saturday, February 17th. We'll be there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then we do have an adoption special for Valentine's Day, the Adopt a Sweetheart special. So all adoptions, so 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. are full adoption hours. All of our adoptions will only be $14. So we definitely encourage you, if you're looking for a furry loved one, definitely stop by on Valentine's Day. And of course, I'd like once more again to remind everyone about our drive-through vaccination clinic that's going to be held Sunday, February 25th at the Field of Dreams. We'll be there from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The first 200 microchips are free to the owners because they're sponsored by the McCune Charitable Foundation, and then all of the distemper parvo for dogs and then feline distemper for cats. All of those vaccines will be free to the owners because they're sponsored by Petco Love. And then everything else is only $10, so either way, it's an affordable way to get the animals of the community vaccinated and microchipped. And then links for reference in general, our website, ascmv.org, social media, we have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and then YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We did last week get our newest episode of our podcast up. We talked about capacity for care, so we definitely encourage you all to listen in. It's definitely an important animal welfare topic that we touched on. And that is all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Jobs of the Week.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me pull this up. My name is Sarah Rainey. I am the one-stop coordinator for the Southwest region of the Workforce Connections Office, and I'll bring you the jobs of the week for the Las Cruces area. For this week, we have a 911 call taker in the Mesilla Valley Regional Dispatch Authority. That's for the city of Las Cruces. The position begins at $18.72 an hour, and the posting closes on the 22nd. We also have for the city of Las Cruces a library assistant, one in the computer lab. That position starts at $15.57, and the posting also closes on the 22nd. We also have a residential maintenance technician, an entry-level position on the White Sands Missile Range. That position is open until filled, and then depends on experience for the pay. Bilingual personal banker is open at the First National Bank of Texas. That is here in Las Cruces, as far as the location. That is $12 an hour, and the posting closes on May 6th. Sorry. We also have a field representative insurance inspections for Verisk Analytics, Strategic Analytics, Insurance Services. That posting says it starts at $44,000 a year, and it is open until May. And lastly, we have an accounts payable specialist at the Families and Youth Incorporated. That's FYI over on Solano. That position starts at $17 an hour to $23 an hour, and the posting closes in March. As always, we can always be reached over in our office location on Alameda at 524-6250, and then on all of our social medias as well. We're Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. We're trying to get everything out there. We also are going to be focusing on hot jobs throughout the week on our social media. So thank you very much for having us.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll move to our first agenda item, which is 3.1, an update from the New Mexico Department of Transportation regarding the US 70 North Main Street construction project. Chris Favor will start it off.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Chris Favor with Economic Development. A couple weeks back, city staff attended a public meeting held by the New Mexico Department of Transportation regarding this project. It was really good information, and we kind of thought it'd be nice for them to come share it with the entire council. So we asked them to come present today on the project details, the timeline, the impact on the businesses, and so forth. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron Chavarria with the Department of Transportation, and then staff will be available for questions after. Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you guys very much for letting us present to you today. As Chris said, my name is Aaron Chavarria. I am the District 1 engineer for NMDOT. Along with me is Earl Franks, who's our construction engineer, and Ryan Tafoya, who is our project manager for this project. Contractor for this project, which is US 70 Main Street, from Three Cruces, Solano, to just east of the Elks Trevis interchange. Contractor is El Terrero out of Rio Rancho. Our communications team, we've incorporated a more robust public awareness strategy for this project. Patty Watson, she's our CWA Strategic Communications Contractor, along with Amy Evans, our PIO for the district. They're going to work together and handle the public awareness for this project. There is a project website, and we'll see it at the end of the presentation. We'll put it up, but it's US 70 Main Street. Within that website, you'll be able to find all project data, frequently asked questions. Any questions the community members or anybody asks, you'll be able to see it on that website. You'll be able to sign up for weekly updates if you're interested in that. You'll be able to see our final layout of that construction project. And any other thing that you're looking for, if it's not on that website, you can always ask the question and we'll get it on there. We will be having monthly construction meetings. As Chris said, we already had our initial one, but we'll be having them every month. They will be posted on that website. So the US 70 originally, back in the 1930s, was a two-lane. It started out as a two-lane facility. The existing four-lane facility with the bridges, they were constructed in the 1950s. This project came to be because of the bridge over Alameda Arroyo. It is functionally obsolete, so it needed to be replaced. So since we were replacing the bridge and adding capacity, we decided as a district to go ahead and increase the existing lanes from 2 lanes in each direction to 3 lanes in each direction within the project limits that I talked about. By doing this, we'll facilitate better traffic flow and improve safety. These recommendations came forth through a feasibility study that we did. That feasibility study started in 2016 and it was completed in 2018. Part of that study, we had several public meetings and stakeholder meetings. We also incorporated property owner interviews as well. You can find a copy of that study on that website that I talked about. It's a Phase A-B study. Here's our location for our project, the mile markers, but it's roughly there at Solano, to just east of the Trevis Elks interchange. Some of the benefits that coming from this project are, for one, we're adding one additional lane of traffic in each direction, so it's going to add capacity. We're going to be modifying the intersection of Trevis Elks interchange. So we're going to have a little bit better traffic flow at that intersection. We're having a new structure over Alameda Arroyo. So we're going to be able to do pedestrian facilities from Solano to Elks and Trevis. There's a bike lane in there. It's not all the way, but it's about halfway. We're adding a bike lane as well. And then for the walking path that goes under Elks, under the Alameda Arroyo Bridge, we're going to dedicate its own little structure with lighting. So it'll be a little better than what's existing now. And then a little more about this project. It's about a nine-month project, weather permitting, but we're anticipating October of this year for it to be completed. Working hours, roughly 7 a.m. to 5. And as we get closer to summertime, those hours will extend, daylight, depending on how much time the contractor needs. And then we developed this project phasing. It's going to be, it's broken up into 5 phases within those 9 months. Some of these phases are being done concurrently, so it'll be we're trying to get in and out as fast as we can. And I want to pass it over to Ryan Tafoya. He's going to give you guys a little more detail on the actual construction.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Tafoya. I'm the project manager for the US 70 project. I'll cover the construction for you guys. So part of the construction, during the beginning of the construction, the contractor came to us and asked if they could combine some of the phasing. So we reviewed it. It made sense. And I'll explain to you guys why it made sense here in just a bit. Again, like Aaron said, the construction is weather permitting. Everybody knows here the wind and the rain that we get, so there is guaranteed there is going to be some days that the contractor can't work. So for most of the project, the Alameda Arroyo Trail will be closed. due to safety. Of course, the existing bridges need to be demoed. We don't want anybody in or around while that's being done. Also, while the new box culverts are going to be constructed. Currently, right now, traffic is 35 miles an hour through the project. This is just a map showing where the bridge is being demoed and the box culverts are being constructed. So currently, this phase 1 is already well underway. If you guys have traveled through there, all of the traffic has been moved over to the westbound lanes. The eastbound lanes or the eastbound bridge has already been demoed. Excuse me. So part of the combining of the phases was phase 1 and 3A. So in order to stop from having to move traffic all over the place, 3A was the widening of the eastbound lanes. So we allowed the contractor to do the eastbound bridge along with the widening of the eastbound lanes. This is to include, the new sidewalk, new curb and gutter, new lighting, so that way the contractor can completely finish the eastbound lanes, and then we can put traffic on it and concentrate on the westbound lanes. So phase 1 also, we removed all of the medians. We paved in the medians so we could provide crossovers to move traffic over to the westbound side. Along with that, the phase 1 also included the demo of the existing bridge and the construction of the new box culvert. So in this project, we will build half of the box culvert at a time, finish all of the eastbound side, and then, pretty much the westbound side is going to be the mirrored construction of the westbound. So the only big difference in phase 3 is we will be constructing some storm drain. So along with the widening, the sidewalks, the lighting, we will be installing some storm drain. So I'll hand the rest over to Earl Franks.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you. I will be speaking briefly on phase 3 of construction and then wrap up our presentation. Phase 3, which is also combined with phase 5, at this point in the project.
Sir, can you state your name and then just speak a little bit more into the microphone? So.
I apologize. Is
There
that
you
better?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, my name's Earl Franks. I'm the District 1 construction engineer. And like I said, phase 3, it will be combined with phase 5. At this point, the project will rapidly progress towards substantial completion. It will consist of building storm drain, manholes, median at the Alameda Arroyo box culvert, as well as dealing with the crossover detour locations. At that point, the Alameda Trail crossing will reopen. Both eastbound and westbound traffic on US 70 will there you go. Both eastbound and westbound traffic on US 70 will have left lanes closed with 2 lanes open. So basically, it'll be the same configuration as prior to construction. As far as capacity goes, the contractor will be working in the middle of that. We'll be removing temporary detour pavement near Alameda Arroyo Crossing and other crossovers, and the estimated duration is 6 weeks if everything goes well. Talk about traffic impacts just briefly. I think motorists are already seeking alternate routes. We have some variable message boards on the interstates, I-10, both I-10 and I-25. I-25 at exit 6 and I-10 at exit 135. I don't believe we're experiencing any significant increase in congestion. We are committed to maintaining access to all residents and businesses, and construction updates will be issued on a regular basis. Like Aaron said, you can get on our project website. It's www.us70mainstreet.com, and information will also be available at www.nmroads.com. Patty Watson is our contact for concerns or questions during construction, and here is her contact information. And Patty will be forwarding concerns and questions to the construction team for answers. And with that, I think we can open it up to any questions that you all have.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Councilor McClure?
Yes, I had a question about the trail. Was there a detour planned or any alternate route that was given for that?
We do not have a detour for the trail.
Is that typical, or?
I think it's just kind of circumstance here. There's really no good way to route pedestrians around that area safely.
Okay, I'm just saying for the future, if we could consider the trails as a part of our transportation system, that it's not just about motorists. So I'd like to kind of put that out there, that we would like to have a detour. I think specifically the neighborhood behind could be used for that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McClure. Councilor Flores?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Franks. With all due respect, I think it's very disingenuous of you to say that there hasn't been a change in the traffic jam since this started or whatever. It took me, I don't take that route very frequently, and now I'm avoiding it completely. But the time I did, it usually takes me 15 minutes to get home. It took me 45 minutes to get home. And I felt, I thought, well, just my little doggie that's waiting for me, I don't have a bunch of kids or anything like that at home anymore. So, Councilor McClure asked a very good question about having accommodations for other things that are being impacted, such as the trails. So why did you say that there really hasn't been any change in the traffic? I mean, Highway 70 is very poorly designed, in my humble opinion. I'm not an engineer, but I am a user of that road. And I think it's very horrible for the bike lanes. There's no pedestrian walkways. Is that all being looked into? Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Flores, I apologize. I was basing that on a discussion that Aaron and I had just earlier today. We both passed through the work zone near peak hours and at peak hours, and I was comparing it to, prior to when traffic control was implemented. In fact, the day that we had the first public meeting, I had to pick up my daughter at ballet. She has ballet at Las Cruces School of Dance right on Main Street, and the traffic was backed up. Mind you, this is before any traffic control was implemented. It was backed up close to Madrid, and I had to kind of work my way around just to make it to the meeting on time. So it goes to, this speaks to what Aaron mentioned earlier. The problem with this segment of highway is functional obsolescence, right? The city has expanded and outgrown the facility that was originally designed and increased as far as capacity goes in the 50s. So we obviously see the need for additional capacity, and that's what this project will provide. That was just, that statement was simply based on my experience of traveling through there. I expected it to be a lot worse. And I know, obviously, if there was a congestion problem pre-construction, during construction, there's going to be a congestion problem. And all we can hope for is that people find their way around and seek alternate routes.
And I have another question. Does the city in any way share the expense or the work, or is it exclusively a state project?
This is exclusively state-funded and federally funded.
Okay, because we do have bike lanes and regulations and all that in that regard. So would it be consistent with what we have?
Yes, I believe so. Pre-construction, there were no, in this segment of highway, there were no pedestrian sidewalks or anything. That this project will build that facility for pedestrian use.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. I do just also want to note that we all wish there was a magic wand for construction, right? Everybody hates it in the meantime, but it's good at the 9 months. We'll all be thanking you. Right now, everyone will be mad at you, so I'm sorry for that. But these cones generally mean progress, right? So we have to be patient. I did have a couple of questions for you actually around pedestrian safety. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what those will look like. I don't think you included pictures, right? But I am curious because right now, I live on that side of town. I travel that area often, and you're right, there is nothing for pedestrians right now on that pocket. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about the protections for pedestrians and cyclists that make room between them and the vehicles.
Mayor, Counselor, yes, so our standard is to build 5-foot sidewalks. So we are going to construct 5-foot sidewalks from Solano to the Elks Travis intersection. On both sides, over the bridge, we'll have 5-foot sidewalks, which don't exist right now. We do have a bike lane that we are constructing. There is no buffer between traffic and the bike lane. We're limited on space. But it only goes roughly from Solano to the Temple intersection. And then from there, it terminates.
Okay, thank you. And then I was wondering if you all could provide some sort of signage on the zipper method. I think what I've seen is that people get really frustrated about everyone tries to get in one lane, and the people that are in this other lane, then people are like, you can't cut me off, which generally is actually the positive way to make traffic flow, right? Do you have any kind of signage that could do some education around this? Or is there any education we could partner on for folks traveling this area? Yeah,
we actually have a DOT pamphlet who talks about the zipper merge and how to do it, how to go about it. So we can actually post that on our website to help, and then we can probably talk a little bit more about it just to promote it. We were talking earlier in the whole fact that people aren't rushing. Typically they rush at that taper and try to get in. Everybody's in one lane, just, they're expecting it. And that's kind of where the whole comment about congestion came from. We've seen a lot of respectful drivers since this project started, which is, it's not typical for a roadway construction project. But on this one, for some reason, we're happy about it. We're not complaining. So, but definitely we can add more that pamphlet to our website.
Since I know this is mostly an NMDOT project, if there's any way that our PIO could work with you on putting out some information about that, how to be safe while traveling this road on our social media and those kinds of things, I think that would be really helpful for the public.
I thank you. I appreciate it. And just to let you guys know, it is a DOT project, but the city staff has been involved from day one. So they've been around, they know exactly what our purpose was, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
David, I feel like he's trying to say you can also be mad at David, not just me. Just kidding. Thanks again.
No. We have a good working relationship with the city staff. I mean, you know, we share a lot, you know, our traffic, we share the same complaints city has, we have as well, so.
Councilor Flores, did you have something else?
Yes, apropos of letting people know what's going on, I mean, you can get PSAs, you know, just all the way, you know, people turn on the radio on the way home generally, and you can just have PSAs, you know, and they don't cost anything, and then it'd be great to provide people with alternate routes that maybe even shorter time-wise than it would be to, even though that's a straight line, it might be worth going, you know, going off Solano and down Loman or something if you have to get to the east side or the west side, you know, get another arterial mode. Is that possible?
Mayor, Councilor, that's a great idea to do the PSAs. We do radio announcements every once in a while. We do stay away from designating an alternate route because it would have to be city streets. And, you know, those, we don't detour, we try not to detour through city streets, you know, the impacts to the neighborhoods or there's some other factors that we may not know about. So we stay away from that.
Yes, Councilor Matisse.
Well, just on a positive note, you did a hell of a job with the university overpass, so this is quite a project and a good improvement for that area. Thank you.
Mayor, Councilor Matisse, thank you very much. Ryan was our project manager for that project as well, so.
Anyone else? Just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. Yeah, 9 months seems like a long time, but it'll be well worth it. Question I have is the future flow going east. Do you anticipate any problems with the third lane? You're going from Three Crosses to Elks, then from Elks up to the east. Do we see any future demands or needs for the flow, or how does that look for the future?
Mayor, this is way in the future, but we anticipate US 70 becoming a 3-lane facility. I just don't know when. You know, capacity needs are, we're getting close to that already. There's a lot of bridge structures that we'll have to expand to be able to do that, but it's going to be in the future, probably in the near future.
Okay, thank you. At this time, is there any members of the public that have a question or comment for this project? Okay, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, 3.2, a mid-year marketing and industry trend update from Mesilla Valley Economic Development Alliance. Mr. Davin Lopez. Thank you.
Mayor, councilors, good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. And I want to thank the staff for allowing us to do a mid-year update. Normally, we just present at the end of the year, but end of our fiscal year, should I say, on June, after June 30th. But we're working on a lot of things nowadays, and I thought I'd change this up a little bit differently. Normally, when I present to City Council, I'm presenting our year-end metric numbers. But I thought we'd delve a little bit more into how we go about generating business and trying to grow Las Cruces. Part of our mission is industry attraction, and that means we're trying to scour the United States and sometimes internationally, trying to identify companies in industry who will expand and put locations and investment here in Las Cruces. That sometimes entails trade shows. We were exhibiting at one last week in Anaheim. It was an advanced manufacturing trade show. A couple of our staff members were there. But in the last year and a half, we were able to hire the gentleman I'm going to introduce you in just a moment to, Carlos Parra. He's our director of marketing, and he's really been able to now move us in a different direction, or an expanded direction, should I say, in terms of marketing, both utilizing new types of mediums, both in terms of reaching a new audience, but using types of like digital marketing in order to reach those audiences as well. So we want to bring him up to the podium and just kind of talk about what we're doing on the marketing side to give more visibility to Las Cruces for business attraction. So, Carlos?
All right, City Council, thank you for allowing me to do this presentation. And let me just...
Yeah, just for the record, if we could get you to state your name.
my name is Carlos Parra. So first off, I would like to start to just kind of go over the basis of these numbers come from just LinkedIn alone. So there are over 3 million C-suite executives in the United States and over 7 million decision makers. And quite honestly, 90% of all EDOs deliver them the same message. And I'm gonna kind of leave it open. If anybody wants to chime in to kind of guess what that message is, feel free to shout it out. I can tell you that right now, Denver has a great quality of life. Las Cruces has a great quality of life. Michigan has a great quality of life. Michigan is also the smart choice, and so is LA. Austin is open for business. Carlsbad is open for business. These are the same messages that EDOs are delivering to the same executives that are making the decisions for expansion. But if we look at it at a deeper level, it's all about the we. We have what you're looking for. It's all about that state. We have what you're looking for. We have that great quality of life. We are the smart choice. We want to be able to break through that. That's an old way of doing marketing. It's an old way of doing messaging. And so what I always like to focus on is pain point marketing. And so really what that is we want to focus on what those industries are having struggles with. And so right now, this is an image of our Las Cruces Innovation Industrial Park. It's not the entire park, but it is an image. And so a lot of the times, if we were to use this inside some kind of marketing material, you look at it and, well, it's all perspective, right? A thought might come in and say, well, it's empty. There's not enough. But if we're able to take that pain, that struggle that they're looking at, and that struggle, and when we can actually fill it, we're able to take this perspective and change it. So really, and one of the main things that we're looking at is that there's a need for ready sites. There's a need for these companies to be able to come in, and we know the utility's there. We know that these cities are ready for us to move in. So we took what would normally be of that perspective of saying, it's empty, there's nothing there. And we're able to brand it, so we're telling you, this is your spot. Your site is ready. Now with this, we're able to create ownership. Create that message that says, this is your place. We're ready for you. Now, when we build upon this messaging, we want to discover something. So when I first came on board, one of the biggest terms that we were used is, we're the best kept secret. But with this, these secrets are discovery. So that's why we use Discover Las Cruces in the Borderplex region. And again, it's not us. It's not saying, hey, we have 2.5 million population and a pipeline of 150,000 students. You're going to tap into that, right? So again, we're using the information that we have. We're looking at the FTZ zones. We're looking at fast track permitting. We're looking at the site certification, right? We're telling them exactly that we are ready for you. We are welcoming you into and literally this spot that we have is ready. Now, you'll notice some things here and there like a QR code, and I'll touch base on all of that later. But I want to show you how all of this kind of ties in together. So what you're looking at right now is a half-page ad that goes into an industry magazine. Next is a full-page ad that goes into that, into another industry magazine. Now again, the messaging is all the same. We're going to be continuing this messaging throughout the campaign itself because we want that top-of-mind awareness. Whether they're looking at the half-page, whether they're looking at the full page, or up next, this is an actual ad that shows up next to articles themselves. And again, we're trying to create marketing campaigns so whatever, and anytime they see us, they find us, the messaging is consistent across the board that we are ready for you. We have your site. So across the board on with Site Selection Magazine and Expansion Solutions Magazine, we've reached over 97,000 executives and decision makers. So this itself is just through their print magazine and their digital magazine. So anytime somebody visits their website and they want to look at the presentation of the magazine and be able to flip through it, this is what they're seeing, and this is the amount of people that we're able to reach. But something unique's happened with a lot of these magazines is that we've been able to establish really concrete relationships with them. And so with these relationships, we've turned this into earned media. So this is not us buying ads. We are presenting ourselves as experts in the field. So Expansion Solutions, they were doing an article on digital media, and they turned to us, to Mivita, for video game development and what's going on in the video game industry. We have one video game developer in Las Cruces, but because we've been able to speak to these representatives and explain to them and the knowledge of Unreal, the Unreal Engine, and ZBrush, and all of these tools that the industries use that incorporate, that are being used at NMSU and Doñana Community College, where they're creating a pipeline of industry talent with artists that are sculpting and they're coding, and they're able to go into an industry that's a multi-billion-dollar industry that makes more money than the film industry itself. One video game has outsold Avatar the movie, just one video game. So they turn to us because we're a growing community. We are growing in that industry. We have support from the city. We have support from the state with the 30% incentives coming back to the video game industry. So they wrote an article on us, and specifically on Las Cruces, becoming a hub for these video game developers. Site selection, and this is their title, which is the 3 cities to watch in the desert Southwest. Davin Lopez he got interviewed for this. This isn't about Doñana County. This is specifically about Las Cruces itself and why this is one of the top 3 cities to look out for. So again, these relationships that we've started to build with a lot of these magazines, again, this is part of our earned media, and this is something we wouldn't be able to achieve just by buying ads. But you'll notice on here that that half page coincided and was produced and is by the actual article itself. Again, right, we're building that connection between your site is ready and the articles that are being written. So you'll see here, and again, this is your full page ad. This is the one in the center, which also looks like the full page ad, but that is for the articles that are showing up. These are ads that are running inside the articles themselves. When they click on it, they're being taken over to landing pages. Your half page, and then your email newsletters, and then email banners themselves. So this is what's going to be appearing in the January, February issues of Expansion Solutions, as well as Site Selection Magazine. And again, we have QR codes there because every time somebody's looking at least the print is the most difficult form of advertising to track. You don't know whether or not they've actually looked at it. You don't know if they've taken the time to see it. It's the most difficult form of, and it's always been the most difficult form of a way to track advertising. However, with the QR code, we're able to customize that experience and further the conversation. And so right now I have like breaking news. So before I left to Anaheim, Expansion Solutions, before I'm jumping ahead of myself. With the print, with the digital print, with website views, with newsletters, with email subscriptions, and using all of their social media, we were able to reach 358,000 subscribers. So this is our audience of C-suite executives and decision makers. Now, on top of that, like I was alluding to, where last week I went to Anaheim, so this information's a little old, but Expansion Solution on January and February, their edition, we had a full page advertisement that showed up. We were the 4th ad to show up inside this magazine, right next to the editors, the letter from the editors. It's prime position. And then again, through these relationships, they actually interviewed the NMEDD. And so they had an article about New Mexico. And again, you'll notice that Carlsbad is open for business. And then the article itself, next to a quote, was our ad. That ad was actually given to us free of charge because of the relationships that we've been developing with these site selection magazines and with a lot of these industry magazines, where they're turning to us as experts. They're turning to us for information about New Mexico and how it's growing. And again, with these relationships, they had requested a half page for filler. If they had the spot open because they needed to put an ad inside in their print magazine, then they would fill it. Thankfully, again, through that situation, is we were able to capitalize on that and show up on the New Mexico article itself. Now, when I spoke about the QR codes, every QR code has its own unique landing page. And the reason why we have unique landing pages is because we want to tailor the messaging. If we're doing an ad about manufacturing, if we're at a trade show about manufacturing, we want to make sure when they are arriving to this location that they get the information about manufacturing, not about video game development, not about anything else, but specifically a targeted landing page. This one's for the Las Cruces Innovation Industrial Park. You'll notice that it says your site is ready, right? So we're connecting the messaging. We're connecting the print, and we're connecting the digital. And now when you visit the landing page, there's now a representation of everything that you've already seen with these campaigns. Now below that, we have the site certification, which was also inside the ad itself. Now, with this page itself, we've had 80 users. And that means that we've had 80 scans across the board. Those 80 users looked at 168 pages. So they're just not staying on the landing page, right? They're actually exploring the website. What does the region have to offer? Now, with Google's new analytics, they no longer look at your quote unquote engagement, it looks at events. So events are things that you've clicked on, videos that you've watched. And so on here, we have a lot of things that would create these events. So you have video, you have flyers about the certification and what the city did to get that certification. What are all the parameters that they actually met? So anytime they click on that, they're able to download it. We have logos that show actual businesses that exist and that are successful within the Innovation and Industrial Park. Now, I'm going to point out a couple little things here, which is the first one that's highlighted, which is we have a quick, it's quick access to information. So we have photos of the business development department. We have a phone number and we have an email. It's not a form that people fill out. They're actually going to click on it, and then from there they're able it loads their actual email client itself. And I'll touch base a little further on that. The next one that I like to call is a give and get. So anytime somebody wants information on Las Cruces, and this one's a specific flyer to Las Cruces Innovation Industrial Park, they have to fill out a form. When we get something, they get something. Now, the reason why we do this is because it's called a qualifier. You're able to see whether or not a lead is now being qualified because they want information about the industrial park. And this goes into a campaign that I'll touch further on. So part of our digital marketing is our LinkedIn advertising. And I'm a big proponent of what's called A/B campaigns. We figure out we have A campaign, let's say it's a display ad, and B campaign is a conversation ad. And then after we run these ads, we get to see how each ad performed. Who got the better engagements? What were the impressions? How many of these impressions turned into click-throughs? Or a CTA, a call to action, right? Did they click on that call to action? What was the percentage that came on? Which ad is actually performing better? So we can look at our impressions here. What we found is that we got better performance on what's called the conversation ad. So we got over 56,000 impressions. 40% click-through rate. So your click-through rate is every time somebody's clicked on it. 10% in this industry is considered great. So we're well above that. We received 51 leads. Now, the unique thing about the conversation ads is allows us to control a conversation. What you see over here above, over to the left of the numbers, you'll also notice that, again, we're tying in the campaigns with the digital ad, right? Discover Las Cruces in the Borderplex region. Your site is ready. But then right there, we have what's considered a workflow. Now, a workflow, we get to see how our audience is engaging with us. What is the pain point that we're communicating to them, and where are they flowing through this conversation? Where's the last place that they clicked? Did they fill out the lead form? After the lead form, did they visit a landing page? Right? So we're able to track all of this. So this one itself has become the most dominant and the easiest way to track the pain points and our marketing so we can become more effective at our messaging itself. So, and out of 51 leads, we've had 5 engagements. Now, 5 engagements means that they have requested more information. And I can tell you guys that there eventually becomes a break in the tracking, but this is very effective so again, we can see how people are engaging with us. So we can track how they're engaging with us. And again, so we can monitor and we can adjust our messaging to become even more efficient at gaining leads. This is an example of one of the conversation ads. This is a workflow. So we use a CRM. I don't know how many people are familiar with that, but it is a customer relationship manager. Now, this allows us through cookies to view the engagement of an audience. So this is our conversation ad that hit on May 2023. And it wasn't until 5 months later that we got the lead to be filled out, which was on October 14th. But from October 14th, not only did they fill out the form on LinkedIn, but they actually went back to the landing page. And then they filled out the Las Cruces Innovation Industrial Park flyer. So now this tells us this is a higher, more qualified lead, because not only did they want the information from LinkedIn, but they took the time to visit the website, they're taking the time to do the research, and they're requesting more information. So from here, on my end, this becomes done. This goes into our business development. And so they're able to do the follow-up. And I work with the team to develop messaging. Now, as I spoke kind of earlier, that we have this QR code, right? And every time somebody fills out the form, or anytime somebody fills out a form on LinkedIn, or they fill out the form on our webpage, they're now gonna go into what's called a nurture campaign. And so we get to market to these individuals who want information. We're not spamming them. It's not a list that they were not signed up for. They signed up for it because they want information. So here's an example. And again, we look at a conversation ad that took place in May, and they actually opened it, and then they continue this conversation, and it happened over here in December. So in December, they filled out that lead form. Now, the next time going in is that we did what's called a follow-up. So as soon as they fill out that form on LinkedIn, it goes into a nurture campaign, and it's automatic. We send them a message, and it's very personal. It doesn't look like spam, and we're thanking them for starting this conversation, and we want to continue that conversation. And because of the information they sent, they now requested more information. I have the names blurred out, and it's an area you really can't see on the monitor, but this individual sent that email over to the rest of the company. It was opened 30 times. So we're able to track how many times that was opened, what links they clicked on. And again, we're looking at these nurture campaigns of developing further relationships, but also knowing and understanding our audience and being able to adjust our messaging more correctly and more aggressively, but also, again, building these relationships, because that's really what it comes down to, are these relationships, and being able to further these relationships so they're always thinking about Las Cruces, right? We receive that top of mind awareness, whether it's in ads, whether it's through LinkedIn, whether it's through social media. We want to make sure that we are constantly communicating to these individuals, to our audience. So I like to call these a lot of like your traditional, right? Your trade shows. You're still walking the pavement. You're talking to people. You're building these relationships. You're gathering leads. But one of the unique things that came about was a sales mission. And one of our business developers, Brett Buchanan, he went to a sales mission. He got in front of a site selector, and the site selector, and I quote, this is what he said: if I can't see an image of who I'm supposed to be talking to, and there's not a phone number on there, and I can't click on the email, I don't want to be taken to the contact us page. I'm not going to look for you. I don't want a form to fill. I want to be able to tap on your email and have your email client pop up, and I want to send you a message immediately. Your city's out of the running. So I took that information, and now I make sure every landing page that we have everything that they ask for. And again, these are things that I can't get as an individual, as a creative, right? We're molding this message and hope that we get your attention. But things like this are all part of relationships and what we're getting from sales missions. And we're able to become more effective and more precise in what we have on a user experience and making sure that we're able to fill that user experience. So, and along with that is that traditional print flyers and handouts and brochures. But you'll notice everything we're doing now is very precise, very get you the information as quickly as we possibly can. And then on top of that, when I can't fit that much information on a small brochure, then we have a QR code. And the QR code is a dynamic QR code. I can change it at any given time, and I can also track the amount of scans. Now, I can't track where they're coming from and who did it, but I can track it. Once they fill out the form, then we get to see who it was, and we look at the actual flow and what pages they were looking at, where they landed and where they left. And again, and you'll notice over here too, we have one in Taiwanese, in Mandarin. So this was specific to the Taiwanese market, that when David went on an FDI trip with the governor, we were able to take one specifically in their language, and we worked with a professor of economics at NMSU to translate this. So it's not even our English where we're broken and we're creating something that's bilingual. This is in their language, and again, the back of that had a QR code. These are some of the images of Brian Garcia's last sales mission, and I believe this was in Atlanta. And one of these sales missions, they actually went to chambers of commerce and consulates, and they were able to, again, build these relationships. Now, again, all of this goes right back into a nurture campaign. Specifically, and it's not a generic nurture campaign, these are specifically thanking them for the meeting. And from here on out, we can, again, continue to market to them about Las Cruces, the Innovation Industrial Park, and what's going on. So MiVida attended 13 trade shows, and again, this is just for this is the mid-year and sales missions. Davin with the New Mexico Governor's Office looked at the foreign direct investors, so he had met with 15 Taiwanese companies, all speaking about Las Cruces and the Innovation Industrial Park. And out of that created 6 projects coming in from there. So these are trade shows and sales missions. So you'll see some familiar faces here. And so again, this is our social media. I'm a big proponent of video because it's what the algorithms have changed to, right? So I want to create that content for people. So anytime they're scrolling, and we delivered a precise message, we provide a value statement, a statement of credibility, and a call to action. Everything's done in 15 seconds because what TikTok has taught us is nobody has enough time, that we don't have 3 minutes, 15 seconds or less. You need to deliver that message. We've developed a message for that. And so not only that, but anything like Automation Up, where we're looking at the automation industry and grants and programs that are going on within the city, right? And so we're able to post that. Life in the Borderplex, that was me and my family. We were hiking on a mountain, and there's a paraglider. So I take out my phone, everything is content. So I recorded it and said, this is life in the Borderplex. New Year's Day, people are out enjoying this beautiful weather, right? It's different saying, yeah, we have the quality of life, but here we're showing this quality of life. And it's been able to be, and it's being captured on the spot in the moment. Any videos that take place, we share that. We share it on YouTube, Facebook. Obviously, 90% of our demographic is on LinkedIn because that's where the decision makers are at. That's where the C-suite executives are at. But we take these videos and then we put them on our television at trade shows. So we're able to create, it's called Create Once, Post Everywhere, COPE. And so it's an easy way for us to create content and post it everywhere and make sure we're tagging. And I make sure that we're tagging the correct companies and individuals. That way they're able to share that content itself. And then any kind of news that's going on, like this one here with the 2 companies that were awarded JTIP, and one of them was Higher Cultures in Las Cruces. So this is something that I've showed internally. the department and the city has seen this. This is what I call connected marketing. And so print leads to websites, but also your print now leads to trade shows. Trade shows lead back to the website, but also lead back to your nurture emails. Your nurture emails link back to your website, and they cross, right? Because there are times if I'm going to create a blog post or news on the website, then we put that inside a nurture campaign. Our site selection and decision makers, or any of those meetings, those get put into social media. And then we tag the individuals correctly. So now we're getting movement and we're getting that top of mind awareness, right? They're remembering that we met. And then from social media goes into digital marketing. But everything we want is to be able to lead back to the website because that's the foundation. And we're able to build these lists so then we can create our nurture campaigns and again, be able to communicate effectively with our own lists, not depending on what's hot for the day, right? And so even if we look at what was 3 years ago when Facebook and Instagram went down and everybody was freaking out because they didn't know how to market, people should have just pulled up their email list. They should have been building for years. And so that's the goal, is we continue to build these for years so that list expands and we become, again, more effective at our messaging. So this is a quick preview of what is updated monthly. So I always invite Mayor and any of our city council to come to our monthly meetings because this is more of the what's happening, the boots on the ground. This is our report for last month. We talk about the trade shows. And we break this down into 3 forms of marketing. You have your traditional marketing, you have your relationship marketing, and then you have your digital marketing. So this is from last month. I have yet to update this month's, but you know, when I see you there, you guys will be able to get that information. So, and with that, that is my time. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Carlos, and thank you, Davin. Any questions? Councilor Flores.
Yes, thank you, Davin, and thank you, Mr. Parra. Yes, Davin, I think it was at the November meeting you mentioned that you had been to Taiwan with the governor. I believe our governor was a part of that group that went. Was there any positive outcome for Las Cruces on that? I know that you have other clients and you work closely with Jerry Pacheco and the Borderplex and all that. And so that question, but I believe Mr. Carlos Parra said that he showed a picture of the industrial part of our city, the western part, but said that it wasn't ready in terms of having the infrastructure that's necessary. So what gives? I mean, how do you balance that? And by the way, my understanding is that, yes, it's true that there aren't any utility lines in there and portions of that industrial park. However, there is infrastructure. I believe Mr. Cedillo can maybe speak to that more correctly or definitively, but my understanding is that it could be ready because there's places where all of that can be installed and connected. But so back to my question for you, Mr. Davin, what was the outcome and what have been the outcomes of your travels insofar as benefiting Las Cruces?
So Mayor, councilors, couple of questions. I'll start with the trip to Taiwan first with the governor's office. We have been making a big push on foreign direct investment over the last 2 years and attracting foreign direct investment. That's the acronym FDI that Carlos was referring to. And here's the reason why is because probably for the first time ever, we are now seeing a push for companies to want to what they call repurpose their production, moving it out of Asia primarily and into North America. It's been, the term has been called nearshoring. If you're moving near, like into Mexico, near the United States, the term for moving to the United States has been called onshoring. It's a trend that we're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars in investment by these firms coming to the United States. We're seeing Mexico so far as the biggest beneficiary because of course, cost margins of doing operations in Mexico. But they all have something, one common denominator is all of these companies are repurposing production is because they want to be closer to a U.S. consumer. That's the primary reason why they're doing that. So there's a lot of motivation because of supply chain challenges that have taken place post-pandemic to move production over, have more secure supply chains, and have greater access to that U.S. consumer. And that's what we are leaning upon in terms of our messaging and our marketing to an audience. So the trip to Taiwan was really reinforcing what we have here in this region as how you can reach a 200 million population within a 2-day drive time, how you can take advantage of both parts of the border on the south side and on the north side in terms of manufacturing, doing it all in one location. Now, the benefit that Las Cruces specifically received from that trip is all the collateral we were putting out there that we translated into Taiwanese or Mandarin utilize these images of the Las Cruces Innovation and Industrial Park specifically. And I'll be the first to say I think the state's done a great job of reaching out to a foreign audience. I think the challenge that I have seen is that there's been too much reliance on only talking about Santa Teresa. So part of my engagement was trying to bring that pitch that it's not just Santa Teresa, we also have some valuable land assets in Las Cruces that provide opportunity for these companies here in North America. So that was one of the biggest things, just the exposure that's come out of it, and we are working the leads. I can tell you that in this past fiscal year, so we're 7 months into the fiscal year, we've had 3 site visits from foreign companies to the Las Cruces Innovation and Industrial Park. 2 have been Taiwanese, 1 have been from South Korea, and we think this is going to be a big portion of the business that's going to come our way for the reasons I just mentioned. Now, getting to your second question on infrastructure and the industrial park specifically, I would say up until about maybe post-pandemic, right after the pandemic, with all the supply chain issues and this repurposing and reshoring of production, we were in a good position with infrastructure at the Innovation Park. The challenge has been that over the past 2 years, we've seen a phenomenal growth in terms of automated processes that companies are putting into their facilities. We are also seeing that this leads to more advanced manufacturing types of processes that all industries are now putting in place, which are requiring a lot more infrastructure than they did 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. In fact, I was on the phone call with a client this morning. If we would have heard in terms of power about a 5 megawatt project 5 years ago, that was a big project. Now we're seeing minimum talks of 50 megawatts, 100 megawatt projects. These are projects of size and scope we haven't seen, and quite frankly, most of the United States hasn't seen either. So I would say I'm not saying we're behind the 8 ball, but we are in maybe an opportune position infrastructure-wise to be competitive with other parts of the country where we may in the past may not have been. But that requires having a plan. That requires having a plan to get infrastructure in place, water, wastewater, and power that can accommodate the size of these projects if we're going to land them. So when we talk about site readiness, there's nothing wrong with that, but we're talking about site readiness in terms of 10-acre parcels, 12-acre parcels that we have primarily ready at the Las Cruces Innovation and Industrial Park.
So if I may
Yes.
interrupt you at this point. So what if we build it and they don't come? I mean, you're saying they're not coming because we haven't built it, because we don't have the adequate infrastructure given the increase in yada yada. So what do we do? I think that I think that we're between a rock and a hard place right now, and in that regard, if that's the scenario. So what do we do? Do we get that infrastructure going and then sit and wait and see if something comes along? And then what if that something doesn't come along? So, and that's, I don't know if that's something that you've spoken to the city manager about or with Mr. Cedillo and Public Works Department to get that.
Mayor, Councilor, to answer your question, yeah, we're not talking about a build and they will come scenario. We're talking about a readiness scenario. And what I would describe as a readiness scenario is what we're seeing on these major projects. If they're building 500,000 to 1 million square feet of space, it's going to take them 2 to 3 years to build that. For this advanced equipment that they're ordering nowadays, because it's all new, to have it custom made, it's going to take about 2 to 3 years as well. So I think what we're talking is a readiness plan to say, okay, while you're building this, we can get infrastructure in at the same time. You should be able to within that 2 to 3 years, from what we have heard from from most of the utilities. The challenge is we're not really prepared to have a budget. We don't have a budget ready for this. I don't think the city does, and I don't think the state does. And as soon as you start talking about, well, we can build it in 2 to 3 years, but you start saying, well, we got to find the budget first, we all know how long that can take. You start putting it on your priority list. Maybe you go to Santa Fe 3, 4, or 5 times. Maybe you get some grants from the federal government. By that time, maybe a mega site in Memphis or Michigan, they're already along the way. And in fact, the past couple of years, we've seen states like Michigan, Georgia, some communities, they are now not only investing in spec infrastructure, but in having at least funding ready to build it for when the need comes. I've said this to the state. I've said this in conversations that I've had to other legislators. We need to start thinking about maybe having some type of funding mechanism that's ready to go on hold. You don't spend it, you can make interest off of it in the meantime, but ready to go when the time comes. And that avoids that, build it and hoping they will come or not. It's just having the readiness for it. That doesn't take away from those 10 to 12 acre sites I mentioned. I do think we have a lot of capacity to service the distribution industries that are looking our way. Interstate 10, connection to the seaports of LA and Long Beach, connection to the Mexican port of entry, U.S.-Mexico port of entry in Santa Teresa, I think puts us in a great proximity to take advantage of the supply chain disruptions as companies are now looking to find better routes to service their trade along the I-10 corridor. And in that respect, I think we're ready, but for the manufacturing projects, that's where we need to figure out a readiness program.
So apropos of bringing all this transnational traffic, I-10 is perfect for that. How much does that traffic rely on an airport? Do you know? I mean, how, like does some of this stuff, do they ship it like from Asia to California and then they load trucks or whatever? How, or do they use airplanes?
Mayor, councilors, logistics, worldwide logistics has become such a complicated mathematical model, I think. I'm always amazed when I hear a product, and I heard this a few years ago. I heard when our pecans were shipped out of here in bulk to China, only for it to be like recooked into a frozen pie and then sent back here to sit in the shelves of the U.S. markets, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting and complicated how they do things. So I have heard and I understand that airports are going to be more for high-valued goods. You want to get it from A to B in a quick amount of time because these are very high-valuable products, right? But I think along the Interstate 10 corridor, along with the rail, the Union Pacific that comes through, as well as BNSF, as Class 1 rails, I think it's how do we tie into those types of goods that are coming through our region is really following the supply chain into how products get from ports like the seaports of LA and Long Beach and how they get to the U.S. consumer. And our I-10 corridor, along with the I-40 corridor up in the Albuquerque area, we in New Mexico I think we have the opportunity that we haven't seen in my lifetime to be a solution to the supply chain challenges because costs in California are going up. Why should you have too many goods, still located there when you can ship them internally and then reach a broader U.S. market from our location? At least that's my belief in terms of our opportunity.
Well, from your lips to God's ear. Thank you very much, Davin. And
thank you.
God bless. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else? No. No other question. Anyone from the public? Any members of the public that have any questions? Yes, ma'am. Come on, state your name.
Hello, my name is Renee Short, and I want to say two things very quickly. One, I agree with you in a sense of will they build it and will they come approach to this, because one of the biggest issues we have is water. You go to manufacturing, you're going to have enough water in order to accommodate manufacturing. Second thing is education. One of the reasons why we don't attract as many companies is because we don't have the educated population in order to do the jobs that are required for a lot of the companies who may want to come here, or else they would already be here. So having said those 2 points, I think that we should be looking at industries that perhaps aren't as water dependent, and we can provide more training a bit quicker so that we can accomplish our goal. And our goal, I think, is, if I'm not mistaken, is that we're trying to provide jobs for the people who live here so that we don't have the major brain drain that we already have. And the last thing I want to say, which is to address your question, which wasn't answered, because I used to be in the industry. Yes, high-valued items are transported by air for various reasons, but most of the products that would have to come in, if they're using products that are made somewhere else to be brought here in order to build infrastructure for the future manufacturing, they will have to come by ocean. Size and cost. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anything you want to add to that, Deb?
Mayor, councilors, no, I would agree. I think one distinguished, well, first, yeah, skill sets are everything. And the changing of the skill sets to tackle the new automation that's coming within manufacturing, that's coming with advanced manufacturing, and with AI as well. It's going to change things. We need to start training on jobs for the future. Our Automation Up program that we've started is meant to do that. It's looking at trying to identify industry certifications that can support skill set development amongst existing residents here in a quick amount of time. The same thing with the ARPA dollars that we are working with your staff on, and it's for the same thing. It's a little bit of expanded for the city. We're looking at maybe industry certifications for coding, for aerospace-related activity, for telemedicine, things that can promote the workforce that's growing here in Las Cruces. I will say with water, we've always been and have had a concern for water. We are in the Southwest, and we do not necessarily go after, in the first place, very heavy water-dependent industries. Let me give you an example. In terms of semiconductor manufacturing, I'm kind of amazed we've seen like Phoenix attract companies because those like Taiwanese Semiconductor, because those companies utilize a ton of water. We look for maybe a downstream type of production process, like what's called chips packaging. So it takes the semiconductor, but it puts it into the circuit boards. The skill set is going to be a little bit more welding and understanding that those symmetries of those circuit boards, which does not take nearly that kind of water as the actual semiconductor manufacturing. So we are very cautious, and we try to be. In terms of the industries that we approach and go after, we try to really understand what their water usage and what their carbon footprint looks like. So I just wanted to add that.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Devin. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Good, thanks. Next item on the agenda, 3.3, Sister Cities and Urban Exchange Network trip to Berlin. Mr. Tim Chappell.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. My name is Dr. Tim Chappell, and I am the president of Las Cruces Sister Cities Foundation. Let's see if I can find my PowerPoint here. Select the right one. Again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in and present where Las Cruces Sister City stands, what we've been doing, some of the activities we've been up to. I think it's very fitting that we just follow the gentlemen that were before me in promoting Las Cruces, because that's really one of our key points of sister cities. So I know we have new mayor and new city council, so what I'd like to go over today with you is a little bit of history of sister cities, some recent events, a little bit of history about the two sister cities we are involved with, Nienburg, Germany, and Laredo, Mexico. Plus, last year we had a unique opportunity to participate in something called the Urban Exchange Project, which I'll give you a little bit more detail on, and then upcoming events, and then we'll have some questions. Please feel free, if you have any questions at any time, to please let me know, okay? Back in 1956, President Eisenhower started the Sister Cities program. He was a man that had a unique opportunity. He fought in two horrific world wars, and being a president of the United States at the time realized, you know, governments are not necessarily the best things at trying to get people to get along. So he started this sister cities with the idea of citizen diplomats, having people go out, exchange between two cities around the world, and share cultural, educational, musical, even business benefits to try and get more people to cooperate. Las Cruces has been sister cities with Laredo, Mexico, and Nienburg, Germany. And then we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we also have a signed agreement with the city so that we can, when we have events, we can represent the city. In recent past, we had a visit from a delegation from Nienburg came to Las Cruces in 2018. We also had a visit from our Laredo delegation, in 2019. And then in 2023, we had it was a very busy year for us. We had work with the Urban Exchange Project, as well as we had a visit where we went to Nienburg, Germany for a trip, and we had lots of participation with that. I'll talk about that in a minute. A little history. Nienburg is in Lower Saxony, Germany. I don't know why they call it lower. It's kind of, see up there, it's kind of up towards the northern part, right? And this is a picture of kind of the downtown where they have lots of statues and stuff. It's a smaller population, but we've managed to share a whole lot of common interest, and it's pretty phenomenal. They're just wonderful people. I had the opportunity to go this year for our visit to Nienburg, and I was just overwhelmed. The hospitality and graciousness of the people there was overwhelming. This is a nice picture. They have a farmer's market too. And they have, it's interesting when you get to see it. They have lots of flowers and stuff, but also at their farmer's market, they have a number of, I don't want to call them food trucks. They're like carts where you can go, and they have butchers and people doing all kinds of different stuff. It's really kind of fascinating to see. They also have theirs on Saturday and on a Wednesday, coincidentally. We went on our we went on a visit to Nienburg in August of 2023. And this visit combined several events at the same time. Okay, we had the Urban Exchange Project pop up that we went to. We were planning this event to go visit in August, just to try and rekindle our relationships after the pandemic cut everything down. And so we got a chance to go visit. So I just wanted to show you, it's kind of hard to see this picture here, but this is one of the streets in downtown Nienburg. And as part of the Urban Exchange Project, one of the obligations we had is that we had to spend some money on motels. The sister cities, when you do an exchange, usually you'll do in-home exchange. You know, they try and get host families to host you, which Mayor Miyagishima went and just was, he'd always resisted that, and he said he was just overwhelmed by the hospitality. Well, the little hotel we stayed at, it's kind of hard to read, is Casa Mexicana, okay? And The irony did not go over us, but it was really a beautiful place to stay. And you could come out and set out in the evenings and stuff. They were having a heat wave at the time we were there, and they don't have air conditioners. So other than the humidity, we had a wonderful trip. What I want to point out here on the other side is that's their river. They have a very nice river, which they actually have boats going up and down. Correct me, Jim. Weser? Weser. I flunked German. No. Weser River. Okay? And it's a beautiful river that goes right by the city. One of the interesting things that we found out about on our visit, they did a couple of things where the Urban Exchange and sister cities sort of had common events. And one of them was here on the left side where you see the young ladies wearing the colorful jackets. That is the recycling facility in Nienburg. And what we're standing on there was actually what used to be their landfill. But now Nienburg puts nothing in the landfill. They recycle everything. And stuff that they can't recycle, like paper, plastic, electronics, all of that kind of stuff, they ship off to an incinerator that they incinerate and then use the heat generated by that to generate electricity. So they've really taken to heart recycling in Germany, which I thought was just fascinating. It was wonderful to see all of that. On the other side, where there's a couple of cars, they wouldn't let us take pictures on the inside, but Nienburg, turns out, is a glass recycling for one of the regions in northern Germany. So they recycle a lot of glass. At that particular facility, many of you ever remember Jägermeister? They make Jägermeister bottles there. And Beck's beer, all the Beck's beer bottles are made there, and a bunch of other stuff. So it was really amazing to see. That was an industry, by the way, that doesn't use a whole lot of water. I mean, they cool stuff off, but they can recycle it. And so that was pretty amazing. What they do have is that their furnaces are electric. And so they have to be very much aware, because it turns out, and I didn't know this, if you turn off one of these high heat furnaces and they cool off, they'll collapse. And so when Russia invaded Ukraine, they were worried about their power supply, so they had to install some extra generators to make sure they had enough to keep, so they run 24/7. Toward the end of our visit, I mean, I could go on and on with pictures from here, but this is a beautiful building. Was that, Jim, was that a barn, or what was it originally? It was, but I have no idea. This is Jim McKinney. He was one of the people that went with us, serves on the board with me. It's very, very old, and they refurbished it on the inside to be a meeting hall, which I think is interesting. But one of the things I wanted to point out, we had a wonderful time at their farewell meeting. Over there on the right-hand side is this long table with food on it. We introduced the people in Nienburg to the potluck. You think about it, they never had a potluck. It was just not a thing in German society for people to bring plates of food and share it and stuff. And so they've fully embraced that now, which I think is just fantastic. Now, there was a ton of other events that were planned while the time we were there. If you want another a briefing on the details of that particular trip, I can do that. I just wasn't sure how much time I was going to be able to have today. So that was our visit to Nienburg. So let me give you a little history of Lerdo, Durango, Mexico. It's got about 150,000 people. It's bigger. It's part of the Tri-Cities in Mexico of Lerdo, Torreon, and Gomez Palacio, each kind of in a different state. So 3 states kind of meet right there. It's a beautiful place. I was involved with the exchange down there for about 10 years at the Doñana Community College. And actually, Counselor Karan got the opportunity to go down with us one time, which was fabulous. That's the plaza downtown where they have the church and the city hall all sort of meet in one downtown. The last time they visited in the summer of 2019, which was just before the pandemic, we usually try to get together at somebody's house during a visit, you know, just because you get everybody together. And of course, it was one of 2 days in 2019 that we actually got rain. So we had to go inside and everybody was sitting around talking. And then we went outside to the tables and had food. And it turns out that that was one of those incidents where it worked out really, really well. You know, people were sitting down inside, nothing to do, so we started carrying on conversations, talking about things that were going on in the communities in the world. And when we went out, people were not, you know, you've been to so many things where people get in little cliques. You know, it's like, oh, this group, I know these people. We were mingled all over and just had an absolute wonderful exchange. They had brought, as we see here, we brought them down and toured City Hall down here and had a signing agreement where we re-signed the confirmation of being sister cities. And it was the mayor brought several city councilors with her to come down here. Unfortunately, just after she left, they had an election. She was not eligible to run again, and the current mayor of Lerdo he will not meet with our counterparts in Lerdo, Mexico. So I'm gonna implore the mayor to maybe try, I'll get you the information, maybe try and reach out to him, say, hey, is there something we can do? We had a wonderful time. You were here at that time that they visited and through the fire department. It turns out their fire department down there has issues. The chairman of their committee down there, his house caught on fire when the fire department showed up. All their hoses sprung leaks and they couldn't get any water to put it out. And the fire department here graciously volunteered to say, hey, we've got lots of stuff. We can help you guys out. We got used equipment. Volunteered to have them come up and get free training for us. The pandemic hit, and of course, all of that sort of went by the side. We're really trying to rebuild after that, so I hope we get the opportunity to. We also toured them around. I don't know if many of you know the murals outside of here of City Hall. On the back side, the marble that is on there was from Lerdo, Mexico. They have some marble mines down there, and so we incorporated them into the city of Las Cruces. So let me talk a little bit about the Urban Exchange Project. It really ties with sister cities and stuff. It was a project proposed by the Federal Foreign Office in Germany. And they said, we want to tie together two institutions of adult education. That's kind of their equivalent of a community college, which is where I teach at, but not the same. But one of the other requirements is that they had to be sister cities, okay? And they set up, Ron, do you remember how many there was total? 18? Yeah, 9 teams with each city, so that's going to be 18 cities from the US, United Kingdom, Germany, and even into the Ukraine, okay, where they teamed up cities that were sister cities that had, if you will, community colleges and adult higher education. And what they did is they said, okay, here's $100,000. Nienberg, you get $50,000. Las Cruces, you get $50,000. Come up with something. And they had some goals that we had to meet, right? Some goals like, oh, we needed to get involvement, because when I was from the community college, involvement with the city, involvement with the community, involvement with citizens, and come up with a project. Well, we were on a short notice and was working over the holidays, and we came up with the idea of Sister Rivers, past, present, and future. There's nothing, you know, water is life. So no matter where you're at, we wanted to bring these two things together. They have a river that has water. We have a river that sometimes has water, okay? But it's amazing what we found to tie things together, okay? So one of the first things that we did here is we came in here, and we couldn't have done this without the support of the city, the community, and the community college. Well, we got a tour where we brought them down here. I'll try and point them out. This is Julia, Franny, Claudia, and back here in the back is Jorg. They were the 4 people from Nienburg that came and visited us for a week. And we toured them all over the place. We did lots and lots of things, lots of activities, kept them very busy. And one of the places we toured was the water facility out here. And thanks to Ron's help, we got some wonderful ideas, because it's not about recycling water like we do here, but also where do we get our water from? Okay? And where do we get, we irrigate with our water out of the Rio Grande, but all other water we pump out of wells. Well, it turns out in Nienburg, it all has to come out of wells. Because I showed you that picture of the boat going down the river, they can't pull water out of it. There's boats in it. So there's strong rules about you got to leave that water alone, right? So little things like that. They were very interested or fascinated by the fact that we have for building businesses and stuff, that when you build a site, you've got to have a water holding pond. They were just like, that's a great idea, how to refill your aquifer, because like I said, we were over there during a heat wave. Water's become a big issue over there as well. Okay? We toured them around. They had a really great time. Of course, we had to take them to La Posta, right, to show off what was going on there. They had a wonderful time over at White Sands. They'd never seen anything like it. We also took them to the Space Hall of Fame Museum over there. We took them and toured them all around the county here. I didn't have time. I didn't want to. We took them out to the river. We toured the Bosque out here. We toured all kinds of different places. It was a wonderful, wonderful exchange. And one of the things that they said, myself and John Juarez there, we went down and met them at the airport when they came in. And we rented a van, and so we drove them all around here. We didn't want them to have to try and figure out how to navigate El Paso's construction, right? They were just overwhelmed by the hospitality that we presented to them. And so much of that came with the ability, the support of the city of Las Cruces through Dania Soto. She was just fabulous. Ron Barunda did an excellent job, went way and above, and we can't thank you guys enough. And it showed. At the end of this project in December, we had to submit a final report, and the German federal government was just overwhelmed. Unfortunately, they don't know if they're going to be able to fund it again. So it may have been just a one-time thing. Germany apparently right now is having funding issues like a lot of other countries. And so they're applied. We'll just have to wait and see if they're going to try that again. To end up the project, myself, Ron Barunda, and Dania Soto, they wanted to bring all of the country, all of the cities together that were partners to Berlin and just have an open discussion about what was going on. And it was so amazing. Again, it ties in so much with sister cities. You get people sit down face to face, share a glass of wine, have a meal, get together and talk about all the things that are going on. It's amazing how similar things we have and how dissimilar. The people from Ukraine, some of the guys couldn't come because of the war. They wouldn't let them leave the country because they were fighting age men. And when you see and talk to people and you know them, that really tears at your heartstrings. I had never had a chance to go to Berlin before, so we got to see the Brandenburg Gate, which is wonderful. This is a boat. Berlin they've got a river too, which is really kind of cool. And we toured the city on that beautiful boat. And it was absolutely fantastic. I could give a whole presentation on that trip by itself. But the last thing I wanted to point out here, I know it's kind of hard to read, but these are some upcoming events that we have. So for example, you see presenting to the city of Las Cruces. We just had our annual meeting, which went really, really well. We had several new members join up and came. Renee, is she still here? Yeah, came and had a wonderful time, has been working with Ron. One of the projects of that Urban Exchange project was to share photographs. And Renee is a wonderful photographer, and we shared photographs between the two countries of the local area and the water resources that are going on there, you know, which was really, really fascinating. So we try each affiliation, Lerdo and Nienburg, tries to have at least a regular meeting once a month to go over planning and stuff like that. And then if we have new things, like last year, every month we had something for Urban Exchange Project. One of the things I do want to point out is down here for the Nienburg meeting in March, is we try and have those on Saturday about noon so that our partners from Nienburg, one of the things I didn't find much good about the pandemic, but Zoom is one of them, because now we realize we can Zoom with our counterparts in the country. At the same time, and we did this at our last one, we set up a display at the farmers market. And we have our meeting down there in the Brannigan Cultural Center. So we're trying to get more involved with what's going on with the city, use city resources, and then it's down at the farmers market, so we may get more people involved, and we're excited about what's going on. The other things I didn't get on here, I forgot the other thing, part of the Urban Exchange Project, we had the Urban Exchange, Las Cruces Sister Cities, and we had 4 musicians, a quartet from NMSU with Jorge Martinez leading them, and while we were there touring around, they were going around playing music. Right, they had a public concert for everybody. They would go to senior facilities, schools, all that. They just did a wonderful job. So we had a whole lot going on. There was almost 20 of us that went. Okay, so it was a really good thing. We planning on going back to Nienburg next year because it's their 1000th anniversary. That's a long time. I was sitting in one of the Urban Exchange meetings and I go, wow, that's 1000. Isn't that one of the oldest cities in Germany? And they go, no. And I go, oh yeah, the Romans were there about 2,000 years ago, you know, so. But it's gonna be exciting. We don't have any exact dates because they're planning stuff for the whole year celebration, but we're gonna find a time when it's gonna be, when they're gonna have something going on that's gonna be appropriate for us to go over, and anybody from the city or whatever wants to go, we'll let you join Sister Cities and you can attend with us, okay? The other thing that I'm excited about is I also had a student approach me last week from New Mexico State who's in the communications department, and she's gonna be working with us doing an internship and helping us broaden our network presence. She's gonna build a Facebook page and look at some of our stuff and flyers. And she had come years ago when she was younger and still in high school and remembered us and wanted to, devote some time to us. So that's really good. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you, Dr. Chappell. Any questions from anyone?
That's a good thing about being number 3. Nobody wants any questions. Third on the list. Thank you guys very much. It's one of my goals to make sure that we come and present at City Council so you guys are aware of the things that we're doing. There's a lot more going to be going on, and as soon as we do, and we'll keep you informed about what's happening.
Okay, let me see if there's anybody from the public that would like to come up and any questions. Seeing none. No, if you give me that information, I'd be happy to reach out to Lerdo and see if we can establish something or start to rebuild.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll get that to you as soon as I can.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Okay, that concludes our presentations.
Motion to adjourn.
Second by Flores.
Go ahead, Christine.
This is on the motion to adjourn the work session. Councillor McClure?
Yes.
Councillor Matisse?
Yes.
Councillor Graham?
Yes.
Councillor Cran?
Yes.
Councillor Flores?
Yes.
Councillor Bencomo?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.